Stop what you're doing, because what just happened in the last 48 hours, most Americans have no idea. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why this might be the most important foreign policy moment since 9/11. Let's go. The USS Gerald R Ford is moving, the largest warship ever built in human history by any nation ever. And it's heading straight to the Persian Gulf, where another carrier is already waiting. 2 carrier strike groups, dozens of warships and submarines nobody is talking about, running silent and deep beneath the surface right now as you watch this. This is not a drill. This is not a warning shot. This is the United States assembling a military fist the size of a small country and pointing it directly at Tehran. And here's the part that should make your jaw drop. Trump already pulled the trigger once. He confirmed it himself. B-2 stealth bombers, the most advanced aircraft America has ever built, were already sent in to knock out Iran's nuclear facilities. Past tense, already happened. The bombs already fell, and Iran is still standing at the podium, threatening to sink our carriers. Let that sink in for a second. We bombed them, and they responded by threatening us. That is either the most courageous thing a regime has ever done or the most suicidal. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure which one it is, because what looks like defiance from the outside might actually be a regime so cornered, so desperate, so out of options that threatening a superpower is the only card they have left to play. When you have nothing left to lose, you say things that sane governments never say. And that right there is what makes this moment more dangerous than anything we've seen in decades. Now here's what the mainstream media is not telling you. Iran's supreme leader went on camera this week and said, and I'm not making this up, that Iran possesses a weapon capable of sending the Gerald R Ford to the bottom of the sea. The bottom of the sea. The man is threatening to sink a 100,000-ton nuclear-powered warship with a crew of 5,000 Americans aboard. A ship protected by an entire battle group of destroyers, cruisers, and submarines carrying weapons that could flatten a continent. With what? Speedboats, patrol craft running drills in the Strait of Hormuz like it's a high school simulation exercise. The Revolutionary Guard zooming around in fast boats beneath the shadow of the most lethal naval force ever assembled in that region. It would almost be funny, except it's not, because desperation makes people do things that logic says are impossible. And this regime is desperate in ways most Americans don't fully understand yet. Let me give you the real picture of what's happening inside Iran right now. The economy is in free fall. The Iranian rial has lost so much value it barely functions as currency. Unemployment among young Iranians, and the majority of Iran's population is young, is catastrophic. Protests have not stopped since Mahsa Amini was killed by the morality police. They went underground, they transformed, but they never stopped. And now there are unconfirmed reports, unconfirmed but spreading fast, that the Ayatollah himself has left Tehran. Read that again. The supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran may have fled his own capital. If that is true, this is not a negotiation anymore. This is a regime in its final hours trying to look strong on the world stage while the floor collapses beneath its feet. Think about what that image actually looks like. A man who has ruled 85 million people with an iron fist for decades, who has ordered executions, who has funded wars across 5 countries, sitting in some undisclosed location, watching his empire dissolve on a screen. That is not the image of power. That is the image of a man who knows exactly what is coming and has no answer for it. And the people of Iran, the ones in the streets, the ones who lost daughters and sons to the regime's bullets, they can feel it too. There is a different electricity in the air inside that country right now, the kind that comes right before something breaks permanently. So what does Iran actually want from these negotiations? Their foreign minister spelled it out clearly. Sanctions lifted, ballistic missiles kept, uranium enrichment continued. That's it. That's the deal they're offering.
Give us everything, we give you nothing. Trump's response? He basically laughed. He said, these are bad negotiators, not tough, bad, because we could have had a deal. Instead, we had to send the B-2s. Think about what that sentence means. The President of the United States just told the world, we offered you a way out, you didn't take it, so we sent the stealth bombers, and now you want to negotiate about keeping your missiles? No, that's not how this ends. And the truly insane part? Iran's foreign minister called ballistic missiles a defensive weapon. A defensive weapon? Let me be very clear what a ballistic missile actually is. It travels in a high arc. It descends at hypersonic speed on a fixed target. It cannot intercept incoming fire. It cannot protect a city. It cannot stop a bomb. A ballistic missile does exactly one thing. It delivers sudden, catastrophic destruction to a location somewhere else. It is, by every definition in military history, an offensive weapon. Calling it defensive is not a negotiating position. It is a lie so obvious it functions as a message. We are not here to make a real deal. We are here to buy time. Now here's the thing nobody in cable news is saying out loud. This was never really about nuclear enrichment percentages and inspection protocols. Those are the technical details. The real question, the one that determines whether we're heading into a military operation unlike anything we've seen since the Iraq War, is this. Does the United States actually want a deal, or does it want a different Iran entirely? Because Trump has said it explicitly, regime change in Iran would be, his words, the best thing that could happen. His VP has made clear the problem isn't the centrifuges, it's the regime. And when your stated goal is replacing the government of a sovereign nation, no amount of uranium enrichment concessions is going to be enough. The goalposts aren't where they're claiming they are. This is the Venezuela playbook. Endless talks, endless meetings, endless summits that go nowhere, not because both sides are failing to find common ground, but because one side has already decided what the ending looks like. The talks are the show, the carriers are the reality. And here's the darkest part of that reality. If this was always going to end in a military operation, then every Iranian civilian who dies in what comes next died during a process that was never genuinely designed to save them. That question deserves an answer that nobody in Washington is currently providing. Now think about North Korea for 1 second, because Tehran certainly has. Kim Jong-un is one of the most brutal, isolated, economically catastrophic leaders on the planet, and nobody can touch him. You know why? Nuclear weapons. The moment you cross that threshold, you become untouchable. Mutually assured destruction is the ultimate insurance policy for a regime that has no other way to survive external pressure. Iran's leadership has watched North Korea for 30 years and learned exactly one lesson: get the bomb or be vulnerable forever. That is why they will not give up enrichment. That is why they will not surrender their missiles. That is why they are stalling and talking and threatening and drilling in the Strait of Hormuz with speedboats. Because every single day of delay is a day closer to the one thing that makes them permanently safe. And that is exactly why Washington cannot let them get there. Because a nuclear-armed Iran is not just a Middle East problem, it is a planet problem. The moment Iran crosses that line, Saudi Arabia starts its own program. Turkey won't be far behind. Egypt will follow. You will have 5, 6, 7 nuclear-armed states in the most volatile region on Earth, all pointing weapons at each other, all with decades of grievances and proxy wars already behind them. That is not the world anyone wants to live in. And stopping it, right now, at this moment, may be the last clean opportunity the world ever gets.
Here is what happens if this goes hot. And I mean the actual consequences. For you, for your wallet, for the world your kids are going to grow up in. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow choke point at the mouth of the Persian Gulf. 20% of the world's oil flows through it every single day. The moment military conflict touches that strait, even a skirmish, even a single Iranian missile landing near a tanker, oil prices spike, not gradually, overnight. We're talking 40, $50 a barrel added instantly. You feel that at the gas pump within days. You feel it in grocery prices within weeks. Every import-dependent economy on Earth, Germany, Japan, India, South Korea, absorbs that shock simultaneously. China loses its discounted Iranian oil supply and watches its carefully built Middle East influence architecture start cracking. Russia, already bleeding out in Ukraine, loses a weapons customer and a strategic ally in the same week. Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, the Iranian-backed militias across Iraq, they don't disappear, but without Tehran's money and weapons flowing in, they start to atrophy. The entire axis of resistance that has destabilized the Middle East for 4 decades begins to unravel from the top down. And in the vacuum, that's the part nobody has a clean answer for. Vacuums in the Middle East do not stay empty. They fill, sometimes with something better, sometimes with something far worse. History has shown us that lesson over and over again. In Iraq after Saddam, in Libya after Gaddafi, in Syria after Assad lost his grip. Every time a strong man falls, the question is never just who replaces him. It's what ideology, what militia, what foreign power moves fastest to fill the space he left behind. The people of Iran, not the regime, the actual people, have been trying to tell the world something for years. They are not their government. They are a young, educated, increasingly desperate population trapped under a theocracy that beats women in the street for showing their hair, that executes protesters, that has burned through decades of their potential prosperity feeding proxy wars across the region. They deserve better than what they have. Almost everyone agrees on that. The question is whether what comes next, whatever it is, actually delivers something better or just delivers chaos wearing a different flag. Because here is the uncomfortable truth that nobody making decisions in Washington, Tel Aviv, or Riyadh wants to say out loud. The Iranian people are not the Iranian regime. Bombing one does not liberate the other. It never has. And the generation of young Iranians who have been risking their lives in the streets for years, who want democracy, who want freedom, who want to be part of the modern world, they deserve a future that isn't built on rubble. Whatever happens next has to reckon with that, or it will fail, just like every other military intervention in this region that forgot the people living underneath the bombs. Here's where we are right now. 2 carriers in the water, B-2s already flown, a president who has explicitly called for regime change, a supreme leader who may or may not still be in his capital, a regime that cannot make a deal and cannot survive without one, and a clock that has been ticking for 47 years and just ran out of time. Trump has said it himself. This will not go on forever. The only question left, the one that keeps analysts up at night, the one that should keep you paying attention, is not whether something breaks, it's what breaks first, and whether anyone in the world is actually ready for what comes after. Because once this starts, really starts, there is no pause button, there is no diplomatic timeout, there is no going back to the negotiating table when aircraft carriers are exchanging fire in the Persian Gulf and oil tankers are burning on the horizon. The world that exists on the other side of that moment is a fundamentally different world. A world where the map of the Middle East gets redrawn. A world where oil markets never fully recover their stability. A world where China and Russia recalibrate every assumption they have made about American resolve. A world where every small nation watching this unfold has to make an immediate decision about which side of history they want to be standing on. And every decision made in the next few days, the next few weeks, will determine what that world looks like for the next 50 years. This is not a news cycle. This is a hinge point, and you are watching it happen in real time. If this video made you think, share it, because most people have no idea how close we actually are to something that changes everything. I'll see you in the next one.